Okay. All right, guys, we'll dive straight in then. Kim, Ken, listen, it is such an absolute pleasure to be speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do it.
Yeah, sure.
How's your day been so far?
Well, we went to do some jiu-jitsu. That was nice.
So work, jiu-jitsu, then straight to the interviews.
Yeah.
Am I the only one today?
No, second, right?
Yeah. We just did my primordial radio just now.
It's part and parcel of the period of time. This long period that you get with the build up to a release, the drip feeding of content, the press releases, the interviews, basically the non-stop talking about Mol. Do you guys enjoy it?
Yeah, I think I do actually.
Yeah, you love talking in general, so.
Well, I'm the main extrovert in the band. The other guys keep their mouth shut usually.
Yeah, but it's nice when people have something where you can sort of open it up more, the music and the album, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible period. But going back a bit, how have you been holding up personally during the pandemic period of the last 18 months or so? And what, if anything, can you think of has helped get you through this difficult period?
Jiu-jitsu.
For once. Well, that was locked down during Corona, actually. But me and Kim being close and regularly checking because of work, right? We get tested all the time. Then we could go and do that for physical activity, and then writing the album as well, you know.
Also... you moved right over here a year ago, right? Yeah, and
house.
Yeah, and me and my girlfriend, we moved into this apartment.
So we're neighbors.
In December, so it was actually during the lockdown.
Yeah,
just right. You moved during lockdown now, and I did too.
No housewarming.
Yeah, no housewarming. No.
Unless it was a socially distant one.
Yeah.
Well, at least you guys were a couple of our friends that we did see on a regular basis.
Yeah, I like sort of a Corona couple. Yeah. I mean, as long as we got tested because of work all the time. So
we both work as social workers. You work with young kids, and I work with teenagers.
So nothing stopped, and you were just basically testing on a regular to make sure you could continue to do it.
Well, they had test centers on our school, on the schools that we work on.
Well, we can be quite clear that it sucked with the restrictions. It's very hard to do social work when you're not allowed to be close to people and really like give them the care they need. But other than that, well, now we can actually begin that work again.
Well, as we said actually during another interview, like writing this album has been kind of like that meme with the dog and the house burning. Yeah, everything's fine. We're just
just focus on something.
Focus on something
you can actually control.
Yeah,
and then try and leave the other things out of it.
Well, I mean, of course, it's this that period was excellent for that. What about the pandemic's effect on Mol in general? Because it feels like since you released Yord back in 2018 and the re-release of the 2 EPs the year later in 2019, you basically haven't stopped. This forced chance to take a breath, was it something that you think, yep, okay, that worked out well?
I think it did, because
it was a blessing for the band. We could finally sit down, and the tours are an immense amount of work, especially when you have work as well. All of us do, and careers and kids. Not all of us have kids, but
well, both our bassist and our guitarist and main songwriter Nikolai, Holger and Nikolai, they both had kids during the lockdown. So it was kind of, you know, a blessing in disguise, I think.
Yeah.
If you could say it like that, it got us, you know, either to refocus on what do we need to do to make this continue. Either we have to go big or go home, basically.
And it's also a different type of writing, because like it was only Kim I could see regularly, and Nikolai moved, and me and him are working digitally, sending the files back and forth. So it's different, because usually we would have done it in the practice room, and just to exemplify, Yord took quite a few years to make.
How long?
Probably 3 years.
Yeah.
And this didn't. So
but then that way of being forced to work in that different way, was it difficult to adjust, or did you kind of think, okay, this is okay, we can handle this, and we'll maybe use some of what we learned from this going forward?
Well, I think you got to cut some corners at some points. Like, you know, is this, like, for instance, we did have a more democratic process when writing before, but I think it got narrowed down more to, you know, but just being you and Nikolai taking some of the main decisions, and I getting put into the mix when you couldn't be agree on something.
Yeah. So it's a more focused between me and Nikolai and then Kim collaboration.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, going back to the early days, when you first started to sort of plan out Diorama, as it were, those very early days, were you as excited and confident that you could follow up what was effectively a spectacular release in Yord? Or was there nerves and trepidation about that?
I think we tried not to think about on that.
Yeah, we didn't want to make a sequel, but of course there was so much pressure on doing it because it was so overwhelmingly well received.
Yeah.
So we just thought, like, what makes Møl Møl, right?
Yeah.
And it's the sweet sounds, the melodies, and then like doing what we feel like suits the song, no matter what type of genre we mix in it. And then we expanded on that. Yeah,
I think like the key word being dynamics, and not just dynamics in the songs, but dynamics throughout the album. You won't find one track that is, you know, just like any of the others, and when you hear it in succession of each other, like it should make you feel something.
Interesting choice of words. I'm definitely going to get back to the feel side of things, but I find it interesting that you acknowledge that you didn't want to make Yord Part 2, but you could have done. It would have been easier, more acceptable on a fan base level for you just to follow that up, considering obviously that was the debut full length. How important was it for you overall to avoid that, but to showcase the growth of Møl?
I think that was
it was a very important point, because we could have just made the same thing, used the same producer, but we wanted something that sounded even more like us. And that was also shown. We chose Tue Madsen of Ant Farm Studios to produce it, and he's famous for making a lot of the music we grew up with. Very respected producer, but he also makes this band sound like the band if they ask for it, and that's what we did. And you can hear it; it's a way more organic and raw sound. And
and there's a lot of things that actually did happen out in the studio. We came out on, you know, none of us was actually you know out there, everyone together at one point. Everything just came together. Like,
drums were not done. I had to finish the drums in the studio, so a lot of it is improvised in that sense as well. That was also nerve-wracking when you have 4 days.
So he's the one starting it all.
Great, go Ken. So
but I think it was nice seeing it come together and seeing how Tue actually got to trying to be our collective mind. Of some sort of, you know, what's going into this record, what's the common feel, or
because he doesn't tell you what to do. That's a great, like, in a sense that sucks, because you want somebody just to tell you, do this, that's the right thing. He just like, I mean, it could be this, could also be the other thing, what do you think, you know? And then it's like, oh shit, okay, I'll try this, you know. And he also made we opened up for Clean Singing. We had Clean Singing on the previous album with guest vocalists.
And I did some light backing at that point, but
now we have clean guest vocalist, and Kim also does did a very good job.
And thank you. See, that's the thing, like, I came out with a lot of placeholders. I did do some vocal work when working on demos at home, but when I got into the studio, Tue, he was just like, "Yeah, you do it." What? Yeah, you do it. Like, you do it. You did it, so do it again. And that was kind of a leap for me. I think I know what I'm doing in terms of screams and growls and everything of that. I know that I'm a proficient screamer, but there's just something really naked about singing, and I wanted to challenge myself in that regard, and I'm actually quite happy that I did, because I think I wouldn't have been able to do it under other circumstances, actually.
mean, it's fantastic. Ultimately, as well, it's going to challenge a listening audience. Those who may not know your work, perhaps going further back, but starting perhaps with Yord and so on, will have expected a certain vocal style of what they do. And obviously that's heavily present in this new album. But then when you hit those cleans, as you say, it's a little bit of an eye-opening, oh, wow, we're seeing range.
Yeah, like, you know, on Photophobic, Mirza, our manager actually did some of the falsetto, and I did the backing on that one. And he just had a really great idea that we actually ended up following, like, you know, that's what we're gonna go.
And it was also great because it's unexpected of him as well, right? He's not doing falsetto in general.
He plays in a band called Siamese, and he does something, you know, he just doesn't do that. So it's
get him out of his comfort zone, and made it also somewhat more honest. I think, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. And we have Sylvain, Catherine Shepard from Sylvain, on Diorama, the title track. And it was such a pleasure.
Singing Norwegian.
She's singing in exactly. She's singing in Norwegian. I'm singing in Danish, so it's like a really great Scandinavian collaboration.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear to the ears. Considering, you know, going back to something about comfort as well, when it comes to inspiration for things, I guess, not just lyrical content, but the general atmosphere of the album, do you find you're looking inward and outward as much as anything else? Considering it's been a very difficult period for the world, full stop, not just involving the pandemic the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, the first album was looking very much outwards, seeing the grander scale, and then Kim opened up much more in the sense that it's much more personal, diving inwards.
Yeah, but I would say that both on the sound, as you mentioned, but also on the lyrical side, like it's I would say the first one being a lot more polished in some senses, but
that's also cold and distant.
Yeah.
More than this.
And this is way more
warm.
Yeah, warm.
And close.
And one of the things that we stressed a lot is that it sounds really well on vinyl. I think that sound, the warmth, the organic feel, that just complements that way of experiencing the record. You know, you can also hear it on streaming services. It's nice that we do keep a song length that's actually, you know, you're able to consume, you know, that one track as a single, but I think it's meant to be heard as a whole.
It's meant to be a whole album. Yes.
When people tend to talk about hearing an album full, their minds start going to conceptual stuff and things like that. But of course, we're not talking a conceptual album here. We're effectively talking beginning to end, story-based, and what you do in each individual song.
Well, it's an overall theme.
Yeah.
And it also ties together. I mean, you're the lyricist, but it goes on and it sort of peaks on Twisting.
Yeah.
And then there's what do you call it?
An epilogue at Diorama. Like so the dynamics of the emotional narrative is there. I think it's the same thing with Yord as well. There is some sense of cinematic feel, you know, that you can go and consume this as a story. You might not necessarily know what's been sung, but you can, you know, you're supposed to feel something, as I said earlier. And that's at least how I experience the melodies as well. I'm trying to complement that as a vocalist, complement that sound or accompany it instead of trying to, you know, pull the focus too much. That's one of the things that I hate about death metal. The vocalist is so much in center, and it kind of steals a picture from a lot of the other things that's happening. So I think there's a place for everything, but I would say the main instrument in Møl is the guitars.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to put it as anything else. And sticking to what you're talking now about feeling, we're coming back to that. Do you agree there's a lot of positivity that can be gained from your style of music? Because there's obviously a presumption, particularly from an outside perspective, and just listening, say, on a brief snippet that it can be quite obviously intense, can sometimes be quite angry, particularly if you're not hitting melodic part. That aspect of making people feel it, it seems like that is almost key to everything that Mole does.
It's the dynamic. I think you mentioned that earlier. The dynamic of it, like it gets really tense and then it releases. So in a very cathartic experience, I guess.
Yeah.
And a lot of the songs, some of them, like maybe the opening track, just keeps building, right, and then releases, and then we have a Photophobic that slows up, and so it's always all the songs have a structure and a very well narrative that then fits in an overall narrative of the album.
Yeah, and one of the things that I remember Nikolai saying about feeling when writing it was, you know, if you can juxtapose melancholy and jubilee in the same song, you've found something that can you know, make you think in another way, and stop for a second and actually, you know, close your eyes, get sucked into that, you know, without it being forced. You can hear a lot of technical death metal and a lot of other stuff. Like you can really hear, okay, that's the A and the B part and the C, you know, but a coherent way of, you know, make it flow into each other. That's one of the things that we like writing songs.
You also know how difficult it is to do that, to nail that aspect and get, as you say, the highs and the lows and the build up and the tension and the release. It's incredibly difficult, yet you basically do it on almost every song.
Thank you.
That's all right. Guys, as well, talking about that then, how aware are you about the limiting nature that comes with the rock and metal world's obsession with pigeonholing of genres? Mole equals blackgaze. That's how it's described and said and put out there to the general public. Do you find yourself trying to rally against that?
Yep. We do it in the interviews, right? When people try and cut us in, like, you're black metal shoegaze, then people say we're not black metal, and we're like, yes, we're not. And then we're shoegaze, yeah, but we're also not. It's metal shoegaze, if we were just going to be completely honest, because it's those two main sources of inspiration, and metal is such a diverse genre, right? Yeah, and shoegaze is much more concise, but that's sort of the sound of it.
I would say the atmosphere from shoegaze is some of the great, you know, the main components, but we've heard like reactions, you know, talking about Kill Switch Engage references and but seeing you know, how to pinpoint that. I really like that exploration. I like how people, you know, end
up formidable.
Yeah. Like when people try to, you know, put references onto our sound, I acknowledge that, you know, we are a product of a lot of stuff. Sure. You know, we are music fans, and we do love listening, consuming a lot of music. So I think you just can't say that something comes from nothing. Like we all come from somewhere.
We didn't invent anything. We just did what we wanted to do. You know, in that sense. We just it's rock and metal. We just love pigeonholing. We try and find a genre or make up a genre if need be to find a place for you to go. I don't think any of us are changing that anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, but one of the things that we found, especially as a live act, that we found really useful, that, you know, we can play with the heaviest dudes ever, but we can also play with something more
experimental
and soft. And having that dynamic, especially as a live act, is really nice. You can put together a set, especially with combining our new album with our later stuff. Like it just makes for something an entertaining,
really nice narrative in the bands you can plan and tour with.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely. And of course, November 5th, we're still a few weeks away from release. Did the release of the first single, Photophobic, and the subsequent adoration of that track kind of put you at ease as to potentially how fans are going to react to the overall product?
Yeah, I mean, because very nervous that people just wanted a Yord 2, and as we said, we didn't want to do a Yord 2, but people saw it. They saw that it was different, so that was also nice. And then they said, "This is amazing." Still, you know, they're not doing the same thing, but I love this stuff as well, right? So there's some red thread in what we did on the first that keeps going, and I love that the fans who like it, they keep being adventurous, right? Because I would love my music if I didn't make it. You know?
Yeah. You know, see, that's one of the things. Like, as a vocalist, I also feel like it's kind of cool to see you musicians working things out live and trying to complement that with whatever you know, goes through my head to kind of complement that. But at the same time, it's like it's kind of awe-inspiring to see things being put together in front of you, and like, okay, so I actually fit here.
Incredible. I mean, it really has been an incredible recent couple of months, just as the build-up's been coming. But talking of progression, the videos you guys have been putting out to go alongside the single so far, Photophobic, Surf, and even Vestige, they've been jaw-dropping stuff. Where are these ideas coming from, and how on board have the label been with your ideas?
Stealing.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, the first video, Photophobic, was made in collaboration with M2, right? Of Aarhus, and they made we made a general pitch for the video. And
I think they made 4 manuscripts.
Yeah,
it was like, whoa, collaborative. The guy who did the instructing, Casper, he went all in.
Yeah, so they made the pitch for that, and then the 2 second made by ideas of me and Kim. We directed those. Yeah, made the manuscript for them. Yeah, and I'm especially proud of Vestige. Yeah, I think that turned out very well. And I saw one comment saying like, "Oh, it's really uncomfortable." I was like, that's the fucking point. It's great. I love that, and I'm very proud of that.
It has that you know, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas kind of feel, that one.
Yeah.
And what we like about that video as well is it's actually shot in our hometown at one of the more alternative venues called the Dome, and that, you know,
the whole setting. Like, we scouted for something that would have that sort of glamorous, vibrant, and then also very overconsumption. Yeah, I think of all the 3 videos, that's the one I like the most. I'm most proud of.
I like Photophobic, but maybe it's because it's actually gone to grow on me looking at myself. But at the beginning, we two looked at the cut and were like,
oh. we had a second day where we just like fill it with this, you know, and then it turned out great.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I can never get used to looking at myself on.
No, I can't get used to looking at you.
Yeah.
Considering you wrote and directed the other 2 videos, is this a new string to your bow that you want to keep exploring as you go forward?
I mean, it turned out great, so yeah, I think we could do another, some more.
But I would like to collaborate more with Jon Gottlieb, our artwork. He's the one who did our art one. He actually did the video for Yord as well. But we had to kind of prioritize.
Are we going to have the time for it? So we tried making Tobias, right?
Yeah, Tobias Scavenius.
Yeah, and he like the editing he did on the videos are top notch, you know, and color.
He did a couple of live videos with us that are airing sometime really soon, and that kind of was okay. We saw his work there, and I was like, yeah, okay, we can do this. He was such a competent photographer.
But for sure, we would love to. I think we're probably gonna be the ones sitting with that assignment again in the future.
That's cool. This feels like Mo's moment. Yord was a hit that really got those who heard it raving about it. It was our best album of 2018 out of 624 albums we reviewed that year. Are you guys matching the fan base's belief and excitement, not just for Mo, but Diorama in general? Are you at our level, basically, for the excitement?
I think it's more sort of you can't say nervosity, but nervous feeling.
Anxious,
right? Yeah. I'm anxious about it because people have heard the 3 singles, right? Yeah. But the whole album, every song is freaking different, right? Yeah. So there's
and especially with the epilogue and how we end up tying the bow at the end, like it can go a lot of ways. But I think we did our best to kind of do something that actually pushed us out of our comfort zone, and I hope that people you know, at least our core fans are some people who are not afraid to, you know, look past genre definitions and just, you know, listen to music. And you know, if it's pop, whatever, if it's black metal, if it's something really obscure, dungeon synthy, you know, whatever it is, if it's great music,
I think those will put.
So
our core fans, I think they will be pleased.
Yeah,
because they love what we brought to the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail because obviously reviews come later, but I have heard the full album, and I can hopefully say to you guys, you're fine. You're fine. This is going to
great.
6 out of 10. Fine.
You're fine. The album's spectacular, and I generally expect it to blow up the size of Yord. Continuing the conversation about spectacular thing, right? One of the most things that I find most spectacular about you guys is how you perform live. Now, I've had the pleasure of seeing you a few times in London, which is where we're from in the UK. Unique lineups as well in unique venues. The last one, if you can believe it, was October 2019 at the Dome with Rivers of Nile, Orbit Culture, and Black Crown Initiate.
That was when the guitarist from Rivers of Nile, he was really, really bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, he got that nose bleed and just played everybody. I'm terrible at remembering stuff like that. But
I can remember it. I think
I need pictures, otherwise I don't.
Well, there wasn't that many pictures, but I really, really enjoyed that show.
It just ties into what you were saying a short while ago about playing on such a diverse lineup, considering the bands on that are arguably quite different to you in many, many ways. But if you remember, the crowd absolutely was insane for your set and that.
All UK shows we've had. I can't remember this particular one, but the UK fans are nuts. I love it. You know, they fucking dig the music. They are so into it, and you can just see people almost like crying some places.
I really like that.
When I can see something.
Yeah. But as a vocalist, I like, you know, I dive headfirst into the emotions, and it's so nice to see people, you know, responding to that. I know there's a job for me as a showman to kind of be the emotional conductor of whatever happens on stage, and trying to incorporate that, or at least make you feel something, make you forget about your shitty day. That's, you know, if we can accomplish that, then, you know, we do applaud that kind of escapism. I think that's one of the main reasons why we love playing live.
The other one I wanted to remind you of was November 2018. I don't know if you remember this show, because this was my first time seeing you guys play live, and it was a tiny venue. And although I wish, obviously, you would have played the biggest venues possible, to see you in such a small venue at the time was crazy. It's called the Electro Works in London with Ghost Bath.
That was great. Yeah, you remember.
Not pretty well. So
the light was amazing.
Yeah, it's like a cavern almost place.
It used to it hosts a lot of like techno stuff, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I remember that venue.
The reason why I'm bringing these up, both of these up, is because there were two quite different shows within a year of each other, and you guys played them like you were headlining Wembley Stadium. And it started to make me realize, particularly in watching live shows and other videos you've done elsewhere at other live events, that this is probably how you do it. Is that the more way? Just whatever the size of the show, however many people are there, you'll play like it's 100,000, or if it's
fuck it. If you're attending, we'll give you a show. Like that's.
I mean, I think we all dig into the music, right? I mean, you can start off nervous, and you feed on the audience a lot.
And you feed on each other's energy.
Yeah, but it's like you get into the playing and you hear that sound and it just goes. You hear Nikolai fucking doing weird ass random solo. It was just like, yes. And you just take in those cymbals even deeper, right? And you keep going around the stage, freaking everywhere. And it's like, I love that energy. We all love playing. So it's it comes natural.
Well, I think one of the things that I remember from our first tour with, at least in the UK, with Svalbard, was how surprised a lot of, at least reviewers I know were, because they expected some shoegazy people just looking at their fucking shoes, and we played in tiny venues, but.
You got right up in people's faces.
Yeah. You remember Mother's Ruin?
Was that
That was in Bristol.
That place where we played twice.
Really fucking cramped.
I think I was passing out of dehydration after that.
Yeah, we did. I think we did 2 sets at that show, and it was with it was so ridiculous. Like there was not space enough.
It could be 15 people or something.
No. 25 was the max, but it was insane. The floors were dripping, everything was sweating.
You stepped on Frederick's pedals.
Yeah, he was so angry.
Well, of course, the UK doesn't have to wait too long till you come back. February 2022. How important is it, the UK, for you guys to play over here?
I think it's our main fan base, I would say. And
if we don't go, then it wouldn't be a tour for us. I think.
They need us. We need them.
Well, I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is how many core fans do we actually have in the UK after leaving Holy Roar, or seeing what are actually are people still on it, because I felt like
stick around after
I felt like Holy Roar was like a great quality stamp for a lot of music, especially in the UK scene. So I really hope that we can take up that mantle and still press on, because I think we were on label with a lot of really great artists.
But it was a quality.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, you're back. You froze momentarily.
Oh.
No, I think we just got the end. He's saying Hollywood was good, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, but then when you signed with Nuclear Blast, the absolute roar of approval that came and was like, yes, you deserve this. That size of the label.
Yeah.
It was very memorable.
It's
it's sort of a dream, right? Because you just saw all this like super sweet big bands you wanted to just like, oh, Nuclear Blast, what? And it's like you're an adult and it's like your sign with, it was like, what the fuck is going on now?
Yeah, I remember seeing you with that contract. Like, Dimmu Borgir has been here.
Yeah.
Kim, specifically for you, just a small question. It kind of ties into what you said about Ken said about getting in people's faces. Considering COVID and what you love to do, particularly when every time I've seen you, what are the chances you're going to have to dial back the getting down to the floor in the future?
It's hard, but
if people attend a show, you assume they're vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
So we have that sort of safety barrier.
Yeah, at least I am. So but it's like,
and if you're not, you shouldn't be attending shows.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's
you put it just right.
Finally, guys, this is a sort of a deeper question, and really just to kind of get your perspective on things, particularly in the difficult world that it can be these days. Hate is a dominant feature of the world these days. It sounds cheesy, but we kind of want to do our part of fighting out with love. So we wanted to ask you, does Mole still believe that music, metal in particular, transcends all and still has the power to bring people together?
I think in some sense, but
isn't it just music that does that?
Yeah, I think just music does that. Like that's what brings people together. What I really liked, or at least what almost made me cry during the pandemic, was seeing footage from like Italy and people just singing. It sounds really cheesy, but what we end up with when we're deprived of a lot of things, art is just something that you do really need to hold on to something. So I know in my darkest periods, that's what I cling to. Like a lot of really good music and a lot of really great books have just accompanied me through really fucking bleak times. So I think it would be an understatement to remember the importance of what music actually can do.
Metal is just better.
Yeah.
And on that, Ken and Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?